Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm Chris Love.
And I'm Jane Mackey.
And I am, in fact, Zeke Horowitz.
Looking for something to do this summer? Well, US Sailing is looking for 2 coordinators to head up their West Coast Roadshow. What it involves is 2 extremely enthusiastic sailors to travel the West Coast from June through September. If selected, you'll act as a community outreach, visiting venues large and small, including taking an intriguing look at the America's Cup. Find out more details about the position, including how to apply, by going to the Careers at US Sailing page in the About Us section of ussailing.org.
One of US Sailing's partners who's also a big supporter of college sailing is Gill, who were nice enough to hook us up with these new shirts for our show. And Zeke, you're looking pretty good. Jane will get you yours next week.
Well, the results we've all been waiting for are in. Congratulations to John Faudre from Jacksonville University on being crowned best looking coach in college sailing. Got to say, I had the opportunity to meet him down in Charleston, and you guys you picked a real winner. Congrats, John.
Thanks to Harkin, this week we're giving away this rolling gear bag to one lucky viewer. To enter our contest, check out facebook.com/College Sailing Chalk Talk or look for the link in the YouTube video. Kicking off the weekend review, we started off with the interconferences and the Thompson Trophy hosted by Connecticut College. Alec Anderson having a big weekend. Remember, he was definitely in the running last year for College Sailor of the Year. He comes out strong the week before semifinals. He and Alyssa Seifert scoring 34 points in A Division. Over in B Division, with the NISA Women's Champs canceled, Connecticut sends Atlantic Brugman with crews Kim Bullock and Leah Bushnell, who win their division. Their team finishes 4th.
The Admirals Cup got off to kind of a rocky start as all the Boston area teams were unable to make it over to New York due to the events unfolding around the Boston Marathon bombings. And on top of that, the College of Charleston had a flight canceled due to weather. So only 15 teams make it to the Admirals Cup, but they had great breeze on Saturday and they were able to finish the entire regatta in just one day. Notable wins in A Division from Matt Weffer with his crew Avery Plow or Plough or Plow, don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry, for Dartmouth. And a great win in B for Nicholas Clements with crews Thad Bench and Allison Shane from St. Mary's. And Kieran Chung took my advice and just thrashed C Division, getting the win for his Stanford Cardinal.
We've also got these great photos from Abby Cook taken at the Stocky, a NISA team race event at Roger Williams this weekend. Bowdoin takes the win with BU, Roger Williams, and Tufts breaking ties for 3rd through 5th. If you want us to mention your in-conference regatta on Chalk Talk, just send us some awesome photos like these. You can send them to chalktalk@chrisloveproductions.com.
Moving into the all-important conference champs on the road to nationals. First up, we've got the Mesa Women's Champs. At the end of this regatta, 1 point separates St. Mary's College and Navy, and they go straight through to finals. Following them is Georgetown, Hobart William Smith, ODU, Cornell, and they go on to semis with 20 points separation between these teams. A couple of tips for the co-eds who are heading back to Hampton University where the Mesa women sailed this past weekend. I heard that the northeasterly wind is extremely wacky and you've got to watch out for the geese. One of the Navy crews was a bit traumatized by a mother goose attack, so watch out for that.
6 teams arrived at the Hoover Lake for the Mixa Women's Championship where they were smacked in the face by a snow and rain squall that delayed racing for a hot sec. After that rolled through, they were able to get out, do some pretty good racing in breezy conditions, sailing 10 races in each division. Congrats to Minnesota for winning a berth straight to nationals, and way to go Wisco and Michigan for qualifying for semis. Thanks to Jamie Jones for the photos and video.
At the NWIXA Women's Champs, University of Washington won 17 out of the 20 races, so they go straight through to nationals. Western Washington put in a solid performance to finish 2nd out of the 5 teams in attendance, and they'll go on to semifinals.
Beautiful weather out west for the Patagonia PCCSC Women's Championship, where they completed a double rotation. No surprises here. Stanford gets the win, led by Sally Mace and Katie Ricklin in A Division. Congrats to Hawaii and Santa Clara for earning berths to the semis in St. Pete.
TAMIG wins the CISA team race 6-0 on Saturday, so they don't even need to sail on Sunday and they're sailing straight on through to nationals.
CISA was back at the Magnuson Marina Cove Resort for Women's Champs. Thanks to Paul Perry for this video. Unfavorable breeze direction this weekend, but they got their races in. Charleston wins the finals berth on a tiebreaker. USF is headed to semifinals. CESA also inherits a berth from CESA. You'll remember when they didn't have enough teams show up to their championship, and so that means the third place team Eckerd will also be headed to semifinals. I think we all knew it was going to be these three teams, but we only picked two last week. I'm a little bitter about this, but that means both of you get one more notch on the prediction contest. Incidentally, we also have team race berths up in the air. CESA's team race berth we were hoping would be allocated by this week. It should come, an announcement from ICSA any day now. We are told we'll probably also have a reallocation from MCSA, who hasn't sailed their team race champs yet. So be on the lookout for that news. That could be a big news for some of the bigger districts like NISA and MESA if they get the nod.
Now, before we move on to the upcoming weekend, there's a regatta that you might want to get involved in for a good cause.
Last November, Christopher Williford was diagnosed with leukemia. If you don't know Chris, he's a junior in high school from the Lauderdale area, a 29er sailor who actually grew up sailing against a lot of the college sailors that we talk about on the show here. Now, I know he can't wait to get back on the water, but in the meantime, he's undergoing treatment at Boston Children's Hospital.
On Sunday, May 5th, the Christopher Williford Regatta will be taking place at Lauderdale Yacht Club in support of Chris and his family as they go through the rest of his treatments. There will be a virtual sailing component, so even college sailing individuals or teams can participate from anywhere. All you have to do is go online to register at this link. College sailors are backing boats in the Club 420 class. And with your support, Christopher will be back on the water in no time.
Coming up this weekend, we've got the 10th George E. Morris Trophy being sailed at Boston University. That's an interconference. We've also got the NISA Women's Champs, which is rescheduled from last weekend. And what we're all looking forward to watching is the semifinals. Both regattas taking place down in Virginia, being hosted by Hampton and Old Dominion.
I can't wait. I'm actually headed there myself to provide live coverage, and I hope everyone will be checking that out. But before we get there, we've got to take a look at these rosters here. We've got the teams split up, Eastern and Western. Of course, they're all going to be in one place, but it's really two regattas fighting for the top 9 spots. So let's break this down. Here's the Eastern semifinal lineup. The way I see it, you've got 3 groups. You've got the teams that are trying to win the regatta. Then you've got the middle group, which I think is actually more interesting in a regatta like this, and that's the group that's not necessarily going to be top 9, but has a shot at it. And finally, you've got the other teams that are really just happy to be there at a national championship like this and trying to do the best they can.
Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. And I think when looking at this Eastern regatta, there's really only 2 teams I think that are competing for the win. That's Stanford and Brown. Obviously, Roger Williams has a shot with Alec Anderson in A Division. But that middle group of Roger, Navy, Dartmouth, USF maybe sneaking in there, that's pretty good, along with ODU. And those last spots I see really up for grab. You've got teams like SUNY, UVA, Conn College, and Eckerd. I think that's going to be where the really good racing is down there in Virginia.
Yeah, it's definitely going to get interesting down there. We've got Virginia, they're ranked 20th in the current rankings. Eckerd has a vote on the rankings, and SUNY also has a vote. So I don't know how this one's going to pan out.
Yeah, you've really got to dig deep to find results where some of these teams have matched up against each other. This will be the first time I think a lot of these players are seeing each other out there on the starting line. So that's one thing I love about semifinals.
So moving on to the Western semifinals, the top here is very, very stacked. They've got 6 out of the top 10 ranked teams currently. That's Georgetown, College of Charleston, BC, Yale, Tufts. Those are all in the top 7, and St. Mary's is currently ranked in the top 10 also.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Jane, I think this Western semifinals is definitely more deep at the top. A lot of the best teams in college sailing. It kind of makes me think there's a lot more going on at these regattas than just qualifying for nationals, namely All-American status as well as foul points. This regatta actually has more foul points than the Sloop Nationals does. So look for coaches to kind of play to win this event. Talking about the foul, we're probably looking at teams like CFC, Georgetown, Yale, Stanford, maybe BC with an outside look, and Brown potentially. So look for teams like that, not only to coast into qualifying, but trying to win this event and get maybe a College Sailor of the Year nod.
Zeke, that's a good point, but I think it is still about qualifying to some degree. You know, we talk about those top 6 ranked teams, but really, I'd say there are 8. You've got Georgetown, Yale, College of Charleston, Hobart, BC, Tufts, MIT, and St. Mary's, who I think hands down, absolutely no question, should be at nationals. But with only 9 spots, maybe it's possible that one of those teams is going to have a few bad races and someone else is going to slide ahead. I'm looking at Florida, Wisco, and Fordham. I think there's a pretty definitive line there between those teams and the 8 I just mentioned. But do you think it's possible that we could see an upset here?
You know, anything's possible, Chris, but at the end of the day, I think, you know, over a long weekend, as long as they've got breeze, the best teams will come through. The question I want to know is, which one would you rather be at? Would you rather be at the easier qualifier, or would you rather be at potentially the harder qualifier but better practice in the lead up for nationals?
Well, I think obviously it depends on what kind of team you are. If you're a team like the College of Charleston, which I know something about, I think I would rather be at that Western one, sailing against the top tier guys, or just a deeper fleet in general. You know, you're, knock on wood, no pun intended, but you're probably going to qualify when you're one of those top guys. You're going to qualify, and I think that having that experience sailing against the top guys is certainly something to have in the postseason, where there's kind of a big break here at the end of the season where you're not really doing much sailing, and being able to sail on such a high level at this one, I think, is a little bit better. Now, if I'm a team like USF or Dartmouth, one of these guys they're certainly favored to qualify, but maybe not necessarily to win, I think you'd rather be in the East, where it's a little more open in that kind of mid 5 to 9 range area. We've got a pretty good chance to compete down there.
Well, let's talk about those teams. In terms of the Western Regatta, we mentioned who we think will be picking up those spots in the East, but I'm looking for that middle of the road. It's really between Florida, Wisconsin, and Fordham. And again, these are teams from totally different districts, conferences. They don't sail each other very often, so it's really hard to compare them, but I think my pick here has got to be Wisco.
Yeah, I think Wisco definitely has the potential to get that last spot and maybe even sail a lot better than 9th. In fact, with George Kuchenreuter sailing in A Division, he's capable of turning it on any given weekend and competing to win. I think maybe a more conservative pick, I'm actually going to go with the Gators from UF. I owe them one for making a mistake in SESA for one thing. But I think Ian Hausler and Max Famiglietti, they're going to get it done. Good leadership cruise with Michelle Thomas, and I think that they're a pretty good pick for that last spot. So my picks for the West, going with CFC, Georgetown, Yale, BC, Tufts, St. Mary's, Hobart, MIT, and UF. And in the East, I like Stanford, Brown, Roger Williams, Navy, Dartmouth, USF, ODU, SUNY, and I'm going with UVA for the last spot.
All right, well, as long as we are officially laying down our predictions, I'll give you mine. As usual, they're kind of similar, but slightly different order here. I think for the West, Georgetown taking the win, Yale, College of Charleston, Boston College, MIT, Hobart William Smith, Tufts, St. Mary's, and then, as I said, Wisco for the 9th spot. In the East, I like Brown. I think Brown's looking really good for the win. Roger Williams is up there. Stanford, who's been so good in team racing, maybe they'll be even better than 3rd, not sure. Navy, ODU, Dartmouth, USF, Eckerd, and Connecticut.
Mine are probably going to follow a similar suit, but a couple of differences. So West Coast, Georgetown, College of Charleston, BC, Yale, Tufts, and St. Mary's. They're my top picks. They're all in the top 10 currently ranked. I'm also going to go for Hobart William Smith, MIT, and Fordham. Based on scores, I think these guys have a really strong chance of qualifying. Wisco and Hawaii also, but I don't think they'll make it this weekend. When it comes to the East Coast, I'm looking at Stanford, Brown, Navy, Roger Williams, Dartmouth, ODU, USF, Conn College, and Virginia. I think Virginia's going to make it in. They squeaked into the rankings, ranked 20th overall currently. I think Eckerd and SUNY also could give up a fight, but I don't think they're going to make it either. So those are my predictions for this weekend.
Well, we're going to have to find out this weekend. Make sure you tune in. I've got live video coverage with the help of ODU Sports. We are at new.livestream.com/College Sailing Nationals.
Well, Chris, while you're down there, I was wondering if you could catch up with Navy coach Brendan Healy, because I've just been dying to know how quickly, in fact, does it take him to grow that mustache? I can't sleep at night wondering.
Well, Zeke, that's one idea, but why don't we leave it to the viewers? Who do you want to hear personal information about? If you agree with Zeke, just like this post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/College Sailing Chalk Talk. And if you want to hear something else about somebody else, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I will do my best this weekend.
Good luck to everyone sailing this weekend, and watch out for those geese.
Sail fast.
Something witty.
Woohoo!